Maybe. Yeah.
Great.
And entirely
Great.
mute.
You're
This
such a
is
great host.
free
Oh,
content.
now we have audio.
We have audio?
I think we
We're
have
live?
audio.
Yes. Okay, let's go. Wonderful. We have audio. We're ready to go. Welcome back to another episode of Icebreakers. I will be your game dev daddy of tonight, and my name is Helf. I'm from Finland, and we have my lovely co-host from Norway, Sylvia.
Hello, Sylvia from Norway, and Nonetta, the Norwegian network for video game developers.
And of course, who could forget our big brother, Sweden?
Big brother, who looks like a child today. But yeah, I'm
Yes.
Kim. I'm from IGDA Sweden. I'm happy to be here. Hello.
Wonderful. I could also mention, IGDA Finland, kind of all that kind of stuff.
Every time.
Every time. But yeah, well, you're not really here to just hear from us and see our pretty faces. You're here to see some way prettier faces and our real stars of tonight. We have 3 people from across the pond so we can talk about cultural clashes and interesting things and what is it like to move here across the big pond. So first of all, we have Kelsey. Please turn on your camera and say hello. Are we getting there? Maybe.
Yeah,
Loading?
I'm just not a sharp Discord-er, so it took me a second.
That's okay.
That's fine.
I'm Kelsey. I am from Texas. I'm from the United States, in case you couldn't tell by my very exotic accent. So yeah, originally from Texas, but also from California. That's me.
That's a good introduction.
That's a great introduction. Great introduction. Thank you for you and your introduction and your very exotic accent. And then we have also Theo. Slap on your camera. Say hello, you beautiful bastard.
Hello.
Hello.
There we go.
Yes. We
How's
can hear you.
everybody?
We can see you.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Theo, or Theo, whatever works. I am from Brazil and moved to the US about, 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, in 2011. So yeah, and then lived there for almost 7 years before I moved to Norway about 5 years ago. And pretty much that I lived in San Francisco, California for pretty much the whole time I was there. Been a little bit in LA as well, but mostly in San Francisco. So
Cool.
yeah.
Cool. I feel like every American is never from one place. They're all over from the America.
Pretty big.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is pretty big. And then last not the least, by my big bald brother, Collin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Collin. Nice to see you all. I'm originally from the US. I'm from Minnesota. I've been living actually in Finland for 13 years. And yeah, I'm bald. And a daddy as well.
Bald daddy. I like it. That's a it's a good look on you, honestly. I think everyone should go
Same
with
to
that
you.
look. Oh, thank you, good sir. Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. And as said, the topic is North Americans in the Nordics, but like we expanded a little bit because Theo. I don't know. You're Brazilian, yeah, but like I also kind of think of you as American in a sense because you spend a fair amount of time there. No, yes.
yeah, well, in a way, but I guess if you think that America is a whole continent, then technically from
Yeah.
there.
It's the
South
same
America.
pond. Yeah, it's the same pond.
Detail.
Exactly.
It's like saying the Nordics in Scandinavia.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Okay.
Here we go.
So my point was, it was North Americans originally, and then we expanded it, and that's why I did say expanded, so that covers South America. Okay.
And that's why we were allowed to have Theo with us, which is really
Yes.
nice.
Yep.
Which I'm very happy about.
Thank you for joining us, Theo. So I'm gonna after these intros, I'm gonna throw now like a little question for you guys, so we can get going. And I'm gonna let any of you pick the ball who wants to go first. But I just kind of want to hear what made you decide to move to the Nordics. What was the smoking gun?
It was to go first?
Yeah, everyone's quiet.
The
Okay,
first
I see.
question. Otherwise, we're gonna just pick someone.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
go for Theo. Theo, go for it.
That's
Theo.
fine. Well, mine is actually quite simple. It was just because. So met my wife in there in the US. We studied in the same university, and after I finished I graduated. I started working in there, and after my visa was finished for time, I just decided that I didn't want to keep working hard to get a visa in the US for myself. And she wanted to come back home after she graduated, so we just made sense, and and I just moved here with her.
That's
That
cute.
was
That's
it.
very sweet.
That is pretty sweet. And I feel like that's the usual way how we lure people into the Nordics. It's like, yes,
Smart
Through the
way.
let's come,
relationships.
guys.
Yeah, we're
Exactly.
beautiful. Come here.
Yeah, yes. How very Swedish. That's such a Swedish comment.
Yeah, it is. Sorry. I'll take
Beautiful.
that. It is. But we always get told that we're beautiful, and now, like, after
Own
a
it.
while, you just kind of like tell people that you are.
You're the posh elves of the Nordics.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm high.
Yeah. Speaking of Sweden, maybe Kelsey, you want to go next?
Yeah, so I moved to Sweden. It's almost 5 years ago now. I'm gonna say it was mid-20s. A series of random chance events. I had a friend who lived in Denmark, came and visited, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna." Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to.
No
Why
problem.
wouldn't I be able
No
to
problem.
swear? I don't know. I got
fine,
nervous for a
fine.
second. The
That's
media
alright.
training kicked in too late. So I said, whatever, let's just start applying to a bunch of game studios in the Nordics because I hate the heat. That is literally the amount of thought I really put into it because I didn't think it was going to pan out. And then it did pan out, and I had to move. And so I started at Starbreeze Studios, which is in Stockholm. And as I was getting off the plane, I realized I don't know anything about this place. I don't know if they have a king. I don't know if they have a prime minister. I have never been here in my life, so that's how I ended up here, and I love it. Now I'm here.
Pretty cool, actually. I feel like a lot of people are not maybe ready for the cold and the dark, but like you actually thinking about that's cool to hear.
Oh no! But I landed at the end of October, and I thought I was prepared, and then I got here, and the first 6 weeks I was like, oh, I fucked up my life. I definitely made a really bad decision. But then the spring came, and as everybody knows, you kind of just forget, and everything's fine.
Exactly. It's a weird. We have a weird relationship with the sun. Like it's abusive. It leaves us, and then we're like, please come back, please come. It comes, and it just never leaves. We're like, oh Jesus, this is too much, and then they leaves again. We're like, oh, come back. It's a weird relationship.
Yeah, we go through the same thing you did when you came here the first time. Every single year for 24 years, I've gone through this, and the others even longer.
And still somehow we're stuck here. Or I mean, we survive and we thrive. That's totally what I meant to say. Collin, how about you?
Yeah, so mine is actually quite well. I will summarize, but it's quite long. So I originally I got really excited about learning German, and I studied abroad in Austria, and then I met a Finnish girl. So that was kind of the connection. A long story short, I eventually moved to Finland. And yeah, I guess that actually wasn't very long, but and then the thing is, the Finnish language is really difficult, and so you go through this phase where you're like, oh, I really want to learn, and then I thought, okay, I'll get a citizenship, and then I got the citizenship, and then I'm like, now I feel like I'm forgetting everything. It's like I don't need this anymore. It's just I got it. I got what I needed. But yeah, I'm also a Finnish citizenship, so it's quite cool to be a European as well. It's like fancy. Look at me. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's great. I feel like that to comment like Kelsey. I was a little surprised. This was different because normally it's like relationship or work, and that's how people end up here. And it's pretty telling that you usually have to have some sort of a hook to get people to move to the Nordics. But you just that was cool. That was cool.
Just an impulsive goblin with a dream, and I made it.
Hey,
Hey,
we
I
need
can
more
relate to
goblins.
that. Yeah, I'm also an impulsive goblin with a lot of dreams.
So wait,
But-
are you like a beautiful goblin then?
Well, we already said it that I'm the high elf of the Nordics. Like,
But you
I'll
can't be
take
a
it.
high elf and a goblin, man. You gotta choose, okay?
Let's discuss this on a off-track
Okay,
stream.
fair enough.
We'll do D&D some other day.
Yes, yes.
So
Fair enough.
I've got to ask then, what is one of the biggest maybe shocks that you've experienced coming from the Americas and moving to the Nordics? What kind of has there been an experience, whether in the games industry or not, that has been a bit of a surprise to you?
I think there's two things, at least for me, like that really like scream in my head. The first one I think is already mentioned, which is the darkness. I think that's a big thing coming here. But also the culture, just getting to know people, the relationship building is a lot different than in the U.S. I'm used to, very friendly, cordial, first meeting, and actually quite easy flow of conversation.
Yeah, that's not Finland.
Not
You chose the worst
yeah.
country in the Nordics for that.
I mean, I definitely didn't come here and was like, oh yeah, Finland's like the social, like we talk a lot, they communicate a lot in Finland. That's why I came here. No, that's definitely not why. But it also has a lot of really great other sites. But those are kind of like the big things in my head that are quite different.
But pretty
I
fair.
think- Yeah, I'd say for me, there are two things. One, in the game industry that I think, well, not just the game industry, but really professionally working in general here, something that really was a big of a clash. In a way, I'm still a little bit against it, which is Janteloven, because it really goes against everything that the US goes for. And then, although I am from Brazil, and we try to be as proud about things as we do as we can, but you go to the US, it's a whole new level, right? It's you must. And then coming here was a gigantic shock on that side, because then you're like, you're not supposed to be. And then it's like, oh wait, why is everybody like that, and what's going on?
Would
And
you want to quickly describe Janteloven for our
yeah,
little audience? Because
Yeah,
a
I've never
qualified
heard of
person
this.
to describe it, but it's just pretty much that you're not supposed to be above anybody, so you shouldn't be too proud about it. You're not special, right? That's pretty much, yeah. Everybody should be equal. There's nobody should be above anybody, and what you do shouldn't be above what everybody else does. Which in a way I understand it, and it goes very close to what the thought in general in the Scandinavia, I feel like, is with in general. But at the same time, it's something that it's just hard. I still can't wrap my head around it. Yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing is just like I still can't wrap my head around how slippery ice can be in the winter.
True facts.
I get
Yes.
surprised sometimes as well. I've hurt myself many times.
I think
That's
it's
how you
in
learn.
English. In English, or at least they say the tall poppy syndrome for Janteloven. It's like the same thing. You cut down the tall poppies that grow too tall. Okay, you've not heard of
That's
that.
a really rough expression.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So I've heard
Yeah.
the tall poppy syndrome or something like that. But
I feel like this
Janteloven, it
tells a
comes.
lot about Norway.
Excuse me, Janteloven comes from a Danish book, and it's one
No,
of my
I mean
favorite books.
cutting the
Like,
puppies.
yeah, but that's kind of what Janteloven is, right? It's supposed to be based in like an industry city where people always have to conform. I mean, it was written in a novel, and it's about an industrial city in Denmark where nobody is allowed to stick out and nobody's allowed to be special, and they like write these 10 laws or 11 laws that just like push you down so that you don't stick out. No, sorry,
Yeah.
I just really
No,
want to say
no,
it because I have the
it's not
book and I
wrong.
love it.
Yeah,
So
I think Nordics is very much that. Like it's I don't know about
Yeah.
Sweden. I assume, like from what I know, it's kind of similar. Finland
We
as
have
well.
Jantelagen,
Oh,
but
that's
we don't say it
right.
with a V. We say it with a G.
Like
Because
it's
then
supposed to.
it sounds like it's really important, which to Swedes it definitely is. Like
It sounds like, yeah, I guess the Norwegian sounds like Jante love, and it's like, who's loving this Jante? I want to be a Jante. Yeah.
no, here it's like an actual like hard law. You have to be not proud of what you've done,
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah.
you're rude. Which is
Yeah.
I agree with Theo that it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Well-
I think that was I would say it was like kind of a hard adjustment, especially because, as an American, I tend to be very like, talk about your pay, advocate for yourself. Companies, I mean, I've worked for really great companies, but you gotta like, there is a bit of like self promotion in games, especially, and in teams and office dynamics and all that kind of stuff. And it could definitely be a little bit awkward, but I think I'm going to give the Swedes some credit. I think it's actually appreciated because whenever I tend to kind of go forward, the other Swedes are like, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
And so they'll be coming in behind me. So it's more just like, if you're the first one to break the wall, it can be a little bit spooky, but they'll have your back. They'll be there with you.
I feel like I need to go to like an American networking event because so far the ones that I've been to, it's like really hard to enter a conversation and tell people like, hey, I have this job and I'm like really proud that I got there and stuff like that. Like, this is my story, whatever. I can't really do that. And I feel like, oh, I want to like share and then I want you to share. Let's be proud of each other. But it doesn't really come up when you have to be like not proud of yourself. Like, you have to be so careful. So you have to like really find the right people to talk to in that sense.
I think here it's if you go and be like, yeah, I got this job and that's really cool, and like people will congratulate if you get a new job, obviously. But like I think it's more if you're working on a cool project or you have done something really cool, and that's more socially acceptable to be kind of like proud of. Not too proud, but like, you know, a little proud.
There you go. Not too proud.
Yeah, of course. You know, come on. No.
Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that when you're in social circles and social settings that Finns, they don't like, because usually when I greet somebody, I'll say, "Oh yeah, what do you do? Like, what is your job?" But in Finland, they just don't do that. Like, it's like, "Oh yeah, hey, my name is blah blah blah," and then I talk something generally about something. But I've never been in a setting where that's actually brought up. Like, "Oh yeah, what do you do for a living?" Like, that's like super common in the States, but I've never heard that in any social settings.
I would say it's after you're gone for a while, you've known for a while, you talk.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like the first thing.
No.
I find that fascinating.
You start talking about the weather, and then you talk about, oh, how's the kids, and then like, oh, I love your suit, and then like maybe 10 minutes into the conversation, you're like, oh, right, this is a network event. Maybe we should talk about business.
We're not as bad as the Swedes, apparently. We have more interesting topics than that. So
I'd have to say the same for Norway.
Yeah,
the Swedes after 2 beers are charming, friendly people, but you gotta get 2 beers in.
Yeah,
I'd say in Norway just one is enough, but you need to get at least one in.
One is enough.
It does help. Unfortunately, it is kind of needed. I really wish you guys could come to like the Finnish IGDA events where we have depending on the event, from 300 to 600 people, like industry people, and it's every month, and it's honestly quite open. Like Collin, you've been to a bunch of them,
so
absolutely. It's not just me on our own horn. Like, you can actually vouch that it's actually pretty open and easy to talk with, because it's a bunch of nerds talking about nerd stuff. So,
yes, it's a shared environment of nerdiness.
Yes.
Before we move on a little bit, I just want to mention something that happened in chat. So you remember we were talking about goblins and elves and how the Nordic people were sort of a mix between the two, at least myself. Yeah, we have a name now. We're called Gulfs. And the funny thing is, like, it's, as stated in chat, kind of the Swedish word for floor. So we're just like floor people, just like crawling around and being not proud of what we're doing and like really cutting the poppies off before they grow too tall or whatever. Like, I don't know. Also, hell, I heard you say puppies. That was not what we were talking about. Like, I just wanted to mention, we were talking about the
puppies.
flower.
Yeah,
puppies.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot more sense than puppies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think I'm going to use the puppies, though. I'm going to say, a Norwegian taught me this expression. You kill the
puppies.
That's
very Norwegian and Finnish of the
Excuse me, Hal. I seem to remember you also not being able to pronounce my name at some point. So I'm wondering, is this a Finnish thing?
No, that's just...
it's just a Hell thing.
I just read the first 3 letters and then I go. Like, who has time to read the full word? Come on.
Okay.
Gotta be efficient.
All right.
Well,
cool.
Oh no! I'm looking in the chat, and we've got 4 Swedes and only 2 Norwegians.
Yay! The Swedes are winning yet again.
Oh no! This is not good.
Yes, Sweden does have double the population, but like this is still bad. And we won't call the puppies. Don't worry, Tobleronis. But anyway, I think we could go ask the next question, because this was I think it was pretty good, and it was good answers. And I think the ice thing is something. So my wife is American, so I've also run into some of these things, and we've talked about them a couple of times. And then the ice thing, she said that the Finns are just sort of like robots, like yes, yes, whatever, ice. And then all the immigrants like,
Yep.
and that's how you spot people who have been in the country for long enough or not. So yeah. But yeah, it would be cool to hear a little bit more maybe about the differences in the work culture, office culture, that kind of stuff, especially like specifically. So maybe we could hear a little bit about your what kind of roles and what did you do back home, and then what do you do here, and kind of like of the differences. So I think Theo started last time. So let's go. I'm gonna go with Collin because he's on the top on my screen. So I'm gonna let you start.
Yeah, mine's quite interesting because I think I haven't actually been an adult and worked in the US. So I graduated and basically just came here. And I've been here basically and been working here my entire adult life. I graduated and then kind of moved over. I mean, I've been working, we were like a relatively poor family was growing up, so we didn't have so much stuff. So I had kind of work right away when I was like 16, 15 years old. So I was like right away, okay, gotta, make some money. And I worked basically all of, through various jobs, worked at Dairy Queen. That's the highlight. I really appreciate that. That was a great job, actually. Like lots of ice cream.
I love
And
that.
yeah, a lot of like, opening up the spigot and then, going it's probably shouldn't do that. Probably shouldn't talk about that either, that I did that.
I'll never go to a Dairy Queen when I'm in
Yeah,
America.
don't tell anyone. This isn't live, is it? But yeah, and so yeah, I basically I had like a kind of a steady job in university, but it was more like a university job in a way. So I think one thing that I will say though is that just from discussing with friends who work in the US and I think one of the things that when I talk about job, they seem like they're always like really stressed that they're gonna get fired really soon. Like there's like the kind of like you can cut people quite quickly. And I think that at least in Finland the protection for the employee to have that space, that time period to kind of that notice period in a way is like a comforting fact. And yeah, I think maybe there's more stuff we can kind of be more organic about it. But yeah, I mean, I have a kind of interesting situation. I think that I've been basically working my entire adult life here in Finland, so I can talk a little bit more about that. But maybe we'll leave it open for others.
Yeah, sure. Kelsey?
Uh, yeah, so I worked at wargaming.net when in Austin, where I was at first a military research assistant, which is a very interesting job that I could talk about some other time. And then I eventually became like a creative writer. So I did work in the U.S., but it was kind of interesting because that was also a very international setting. If you know wargaming.net, they make World of Tanks. So, we had a lot of like Russian, Belarusian, Ukrainian, like a lot of the sort of that region. People who had like moved to Austin to support the branch and all the international branches. So it was still so it was obviously very American. Like it was American. It was in the U.S. But it was really cool as a first sort of job, first professional job. I obviously had other jobs I've worked in all kinds of the jobs that get you through school and all of that. But so it was really interesting. I think it prepared me well to move to Sweden, where I worked, and I've now worked at 2 studios here that were also very international in nature. So again, yeah, I have worked in the U.S., but it was a unique studio, so I wasn't working with like all Americans, but it was a little bit more intense, I would say. Maybe a little bit less. Trying to think of a really nice way to say it. Like very, just a different kind of intensity. Because I think that like it's just just different intensity.
Can you elaborate a little bit like about the intensity?
I would say just maybe a little bit. It's tough because I've only worked at one studio, so I don't like to. I don't want to like put them on blast because you know I had a good experience working there. But just I think maybe a difference in culture about. I think that sometimes my experience in Sweden is that they kind of will let you. Oh my god, be more not independent, but
Autonomous.
like a little bit, like maybe. But also, I was younger in my career then too. I think there's just a little bit more like. Maybe a little bit more relaxation or trust between the employer and the employees here in Sweden. That's a good way to say it.
I like
so,
that too.
yeah, so a bit more trust, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds. Yeah. Pretty much on par what I've heard as well. So yeah. Theo.
Yeah, well, I guess I bring it from three different ponds. It was a completely different thing between Brazil and the US already because um, I'd say in Brazil there is a lot of people that just don't want to do the work and they are just maybe in the job for too long and just tired, and there's a lot of that. And in the end, you end up, I myself tend to take a lot of responsibility and I want to see things done. And then in the end, I end up working more than I should. Um, but then in the US, everything was like very structured. So in the US, I was studying and I worked in the university as well. I was a resident assistant for the university for many years before I got out of there and I started working in a studio. The studio there was starting. It was one of my former teachers who has been working, and he has a name in general in the industry. By the way, just to say, I'm a sound designer and a composer. I've been working with games and films and everything, but he is a somewhat famous composer slash songwriter. And then I worked with him for quite a while, but because we were close, it became also a very flexible job in a way, which was great because I still lived in San Francisco and I would take a bus to go to Marin where the studio is. It still takes a little while. And I had a chance because the bus had Wi-Fi, so I could do my emails on the way, and then on the way back I could do the last emails of the day. So these flexibility helped a lot. But I know a lot of people in the US don't have that kind of flexibility. And I also think there's something to do with the Bay Area and San Francisco. Like it's where all of these ideas are born, right? The whole idea of remote work and all of that, it always starts there. And and I feel like moving here wasn't that big of a shock, mostly because on my transition, I was just working freelance after freelance. I was working with two different studios where they were like just sound studios that were they got a job and they would put together a team with people that are freelancers in their team, and then you are part of that team and work with them on a specific game or whatever. And I did that for a while besides doing a lot of podcasting. And then I came here and I was like, okay, now what do I do? Because I can't work just yet, or it's hard. Like it took a while to be able to get into the industry itself. I'd say at least 3 years. So all of the 5 I've been here to really get in the industry. I was doing a little work here and there, teaching a little bit, but I'd say the biggest difference is that is exactly what Kelsey said, which is much more on the trustworthy side, which it's like, okay, you're saying that you're working these many hours, you're getting this done, the work is done, that's fine, we trust you. In the US, it was almost like you need to be in the job and you need to like stamp it. Like this is when I got in, this is when I got out, everything. So there's very little trust. Not with my specific the studio that I was in, but the university I was working in was very much like that. Even though it was a very simple job in a way, and sometimes it wasn't that simple. But when it comes to the structure of it, everything was like very set in stone. There was no flexibility at all. So I'd say that that was definitely, it's definitely a different way of thinking. But it's definitely more comfortable when you know they trust you and you know you can do the work, you know you are get it done. So it doesn't really matter how, really. And I think that makes people a lot more productive and more relaxed, instead of being stressed all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends who are doing internships in America. Don't know exactly what studios, and I don't want to call them out either, so it doesn't matter. But they've told me that because they did like internships in Sweden when they were studying, and now they're doing like paid internships, and it's way different in America. Like I did my internship at the technical museum in Stockholm, which is just like all kinds of like cool machines and like spaceships, and we got to make a game for them. They said that we would have like had to be there from 8 to 5 every day and like provided like detailed descriptions of what we'd done every day. And I was like, oh really? I sat at home for like 6 weeks and then I delivered and then it was done. And like that was like a weird conversation to have with them because they were like visibly exhausted, not from the work itself, but from the like culture. And I was like, oh, I'm happy to stay in Sweden for a little bit longer, so I can like prepare for going to America. Because it did sound like really intense. Like I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure it's like a really exciting thing to do to work in America. But I have had like a little bit of like not fear, but like a little bit of like carefulness towards working in America just because of what I've heard. Uh, and also like this is what I'm getting to. I have a point with this. Would you say that there's like a different degree of like competitiveness between the Nordic like workers or companies than it is in America or Brazil?
Definitely.
Whoever wants to bait. Yeah.
100%. I'd say that there is a lot of in the US. They are doesn't matter if the owners of each different studio or each different companies are friends or best friends. They're going to compete and they are going to bury their friends if they have to for them to grow. That's something that I've seen a lot. A lot of poaching of clients, and there was always a fear of getting your clients poached from you, always. So like as employees, not specifically on the studio was, but and I know friends that had to do a lot with, oh, you have no access to the clients list or you have no access to contacts of the clients directly, it needs to go through us, because there was this fear that the clients are going to be poached, and you're going to, as a freelancer, try to do the work for them cheaper, and there was always this like constant check that you don't have access to all this stuff. So in Brazil, it's more like one for all. You're 100% for yourself, and you just get to do what you can.
Mm.
So it's just very disorganized in a way. I haven't been in Brazil since 2011, officially living there, so I don't know how things are now. In general, I know they're a lot worse. Work-wise, I'm not sure what the professional side of things are. I have lots of friends that I talk to, and it doesn't seem like have changed much. But in the US, I'd say, yeah, there is a lot of that competitiveness that here it doesn't really. Of course, it exists because you kind of want your product to do better than everybody else's,
Of
but at the same
course.
time,
Yeah.
you also want to see your friends succeed.
Mm.
And that's the thing that I see a lot here is it like, hey, look at how amazing I am, look at what the things I did, but look at my friend here, he did it too. It's like this whole thing, let's make sure everybody's going up at the same time.
Mm.
Where in the US there's not that. They're going to step on the other one to be able to get above. That's always been my view on that. And I was in San Francisco again, which is a lot more liberal in that way. So
if I can throw here in between, like, I'm gonna condense Finnish game history in like 2 sentences. Essentially, we had nerds in the 80s and 90s who were in the demo scene, like a bunch of nerds who want to do as much they can on a computer. Some of them were like, hey, can we make games on this? Can we live on this? And they could. And the other one was Nokia when it fell. Like that company sprawled like a million different startups, and that's why we have so many mobile games. And these two became like our game industry. So from the beginning, it was quite small. And also, I have a reason why I'm explaining this is because this sounds kind of crazy to me, because the unofficial mantra in Finnish game industry is what's good for the industry is good for everybody. So I know cases where company A is having a problem with, problem X, and they know company B at some point solved that, and they call company B. Well, send an email. Finns don't call, but like they contact them. And they're like, hey, we have problem X, and then we heard that you solved it, and like, oh yeah, we'll just send like person whatever over. They'll show you how we did it, and then maybe they'll get some consultation fee, or maybe not. Like it's just they go there, help them, and then and that's what helps what helps the industry is good for everybody. So it sounds, trying to imagine like screwing over your friends for like business sounds a little rough.
Not very Nordic.
Yeah, I think
No,
And I think
not very young.
like games industry is very small as it is. Even in the US, it's a small industry. You'll work with the same people, but in the Nordic game industry, it's even smaller because we all a lot of us tend to like living here, so we want to look at the other studios in the area. So it doesn't take very long for your kind of reputation to spread, or if you're difficult to work with or anything like that. And so I think maybe that also helps kind of keep a little bit of a chill on the competitiveness, because like, why be an asshole to somebody when you're going to bump into them 90 other times? And especially Sweden, the Stockholm game industry, it's like we're, we're all right on top of each other. So yeah, no need to be a jerk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Also, it's just nicer to be nice.
Yeah.
Colin?
I think there's the hustle mentality. I think very strong in the U.S. and I think that's if I think because there's the social safety net basically here in these countries. I think, and I'm kind of probably broadly speaking here, and I think a lot of states have really good social networks kind of built up. That they don't have to worry about if you get fired. Minnesota is quite good for that. There was a good support structure there, but I think there's like a general mentality, like never quit and kind of keep pushing, that I think pervades the U.S. culture almost like in every. I'm speaking broadly, right? But I think there is that kind of that never quit attitude. That bro culture is also quite strong.
The grind set I've heard about.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that works. So I think I kind of took some of that culture, and I when I came to Finland, I got a job in working at in mobile games and working in free to play, which was kind of like the, I don't know, say bro cult. It allowed and nurtured bro culture in some ways. And I think it's like, hey, you have this problem, do whatever you can to solve this, and try to make a business out of the game. And that was kind of the mentality, and it worked. In the beginning of the career, I think it was quite good. As I matured, I learned a little bit more. Obviously, that that I think there's a certain time and place, and when you should be doing that. But I think that's maybe I'm making a connection. There's a couple of points there, but I'm wondering if there is a connection between that, lack of social support for countries, or for these, for the U.S., and that kind of need to continue to produce and be kind of push in order to make sure that you're safe.
I think that is a possibility in general, because if you think about it, you're not having that social support, you're in constant fear of losing your job, and to be able to support yourself and your family. And in a way, when you don't have that, and any threat that an employer can give to you that you might lose that job, which is very common there too, is the fact that you could be fired at any moment. I think all of those things will impact how you work, and will impact this mindset, which here, at least in Norway, we don't see. Like, it's very hard to fire someone here, at least.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. And so it's almost like they force you to quit, because there is not a very easy way to fire you. So I think that helps you to be able to feel comfortable. That's not a fear I need to have. Like, I got the job, I'm safe, so I can just do the work, and that's it, right? I think that's the big part of that.
Yeah, I think Kelsey, you were also about to say something.
Yeah, I think it more ties into Swedes love a collective agreement. They want to agree
Jesus
on
Christ,
things.
they do. I used to work
they
for
do,
a
yeah.
Swedish company. Oh my god.
So Swedes never want to be the one who makes the decision. They want everybody to collectively agree on the decision, and then we do that. And so I think that also kind of ties into not being as competitive. It's because they all they want that collective agreement, and it could be very difficult. That's a whole other topic, I'm sure. But I think that mentality of like Americans we tend to like have a strong opinion. We're making a decision. This is what we think we should do. done. And Swedes will kind of wait. They're going to check the room.
Mm.
And they're not going to have.
Meetings about the meeting. We'll have a meeting about the meeting where we're going to do the collective agreement.
The diskutering and yes.
We're
Love
going
a
to
meeting.
discuss our way until people are too tired to have an opinion, and that's where we get it.
Yes, that's very much a thing where sometimes you just got to be the last person standing in Swedish discussions because they're going to talk and they're going to talk and you just be like, just hold on, just wait it out. Well, if like my American nature is like, okay, we already made this decision, let's just go with it. So I think, but I think that ties into not being as competitive is because Swedes don't want to be competitive. They don't want to be like the strongest voice in the room. They want all of us to agree.
Yeah. Very, very, Teletubby, happy and joyful. That's Sweden.
Actually, I run a conference as well, and I've noticed that I have that mentality as well when I invite speakers, and they're like, "So what do you want me to talk about?" And I'm like, what do you feel comfortable talking about? And it's so like indirect. And then like sometimes it's like, so do you want to do a talk or do you want to do a workshop? And then I'll get no answer from the Americans because I haven't made a decision and they just want me to make a decision. And I'm like, but I don't want to make, I want you to be happy. I want everybody happy. So I've had to like, man up and be like, can you please give a workshop? And it feels so like painful inside of me to have to make those hard decisions.
It is a little weird. It is a little weird. Even for a Finn, like even if we're meant to be more straightforward, it feels sometimes a little. I would like maybe say what Collin was talking about earlier, like about like people don't talk like, hey, where do you work? That's not how you start. And I think by and large, my understanding is that in America, people kind of see themselves through work or others through
identify.
work. You identify a lot through that, and maybe part of it is because it's not as big here. Then that also you don't have to compete with your work because your identity isn't your work as much. So maybe that's part of it, like just a cultural difference in that sense as well.
Yeah,
but I think
social standing for sure.
Yeah,
I think when you're having conversations and it's like, or if you meet a new people in a group and you're kind of like, I don't know. I for me, it's still hard when I go into a group and I'm like almost immediately saying like, oh yeah, I do this, because I still feel like I kind of identify with my job at least to some extent, or it's just like a habit of like social settings. I'm like, oh, I don't all these people, and then I like what do I say? Okay, good. Just default to the basics. So there could be also that.
That's a pretty good point to ask Sylvia, because you wanted to segue into a different question, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I wanted to ask you, what do you guys think might attract developers from abroad to the Nordics? What kind of things do you think would bring them over?
Give us the secrets.
Yes.
It's an easy question, guys. Like, don't worry about it. No pressure.
The support system, 100% support system.
Fair. Maybe I can add on that because something I've run into in my work and I've talked with like people in other companies. So something that is for foreigners, especially Americans, like US people, is vacations. So first of all, when people are recruiting, especially bigger studios, they're recruiting people from the US, and then they have like, we don't really do crunch. If you have to crunch, there's going to be overtime pay, or if and there's vacation, you got to have the vacation, and you're going to get them. Like, yeah, sure, of course, I've heard that. And then they come and they're actually that, and I have to kick people to have their vacation because they're like, I don't know. And I've had people who are like, well, I maybe can take a week. I'm like, you have 33 days to use your vacation. Go out. It's just sometimes a little difficult. And I think that's maybe a cultural thing as well. And maybe that could be something we could talk about more as Nordics, bring out. Kelsey looks like you're having an epiphany. Let us hear.
See, I think so hard. I was like, okay, I'm trying to think of something that's about industry that's not about like Sweden sort of state or like government mandated perks. And the one that I came up with, oh my god, did it just leave my head?
Oh no.
I hate when that happens. It's horrible.
No, it's that I think that there's a it's interesting. I'm trying to find the right way to say this because diverse is not necessarily the word I would use, but I think that people come from. It's less like rigid. Like I think that some people kind of come into the games industry a bit later, or they may do something else and then go to a game school because education's more. I'm trying not to get too much into state sponsored stuff. So you end up working with people who maybe had a bit more of a wandering path to get into games. And like when I went to a 4-year university. I have a writing degree. I went into narrative. Like I was extremely linear path, and I do think that for the most part, you kind of get some very different people, and I think it does have to do with the accessibility to education and yes, the security of like being able to switch careers without feeling like you're going to be homeless necessarily. But I think that that's a really nice that's a nice thing. Not everybody is like all games all the time. They came from different industries.
To be fair, like very few people when they're 19, 20 know actually what they want to do with their life. So
I think I was an anomaly for sure.
yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
I knew too. I knew I wanted to do games, but I know a lot of people that have been in like the film industry or like just done other things. I met this Icelandic guy when I was at a conference in Skellefteå. I would love to pitch why it's a good conference, but I don't remember what it's called, so it's like a shitty pitch. But I met this Icelandic guy, and he was in the film industry for like 20 years. And then one day he said, "No, I want to make games." So he studied for a bit, and then he started making games. And he makes good games. Like it's not even just like, oh, I make little apps at home. No, he makes great games. He has a good team, and it's like I don't understand how that happens. I don't know if the games industry is way easier than I thought it was, or it's just like very inviting in like the Nordic countries. Like if you get a foot in, you're in.
I have a similar, like I studied photography. I was a photographer like 7 years, and I did that before I said, okay, games are actually interesting. Why not go there? So yeah. Collin, any thoughts on that beautiful head of yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is quite relevant for me, at least if you're, if you're a parent. I think if you're looking to come to a country which is extremely welcoming to parents, I think, mate, you can't bring your kids to restaurants. That's one thing that's apparently that's a thing. Like you don't bring your kids to restaurants. I've noticed that like you just don't do that, which is kind of interesting. In the US, you always see kids all the time in restaurants, but I almost never see kids in restaurants in Finland. Anyways, that was not my point. But the
That's a
parents.
good pitch for Finland. You can't bring your kids to restaurants.
No restaurants.
At least you have quiet restaurants, okay?
Yes, very quiet. But that's like that you don't want to disturb anyone. That's the whole, when you're on a bus, you should be quiet, sitting by yourself as far away from everybody else.
Oh
This is
yeah, if
also
you want to
not
be
very,
quiet and not talk, that's us.
Yes.
Come here.
But if you're a parent, I think if you have a kid, and you want the space, I think the mental space of having your own, having a kid and growing, watching them grow, see all the moments, if they get sick, being able to, take time away from work, the flexibility there. I think just generally the culture is really welcoming, saying, hey, you know what? You have a kid, just go. Like, don't worry about work. We'll take care of it. We'll support you. And I think that's real. Like, as somebody who has been through that journey now, I know that it's like I don't know how people in the US do this, because it's already quite difficult, quite challenging situation where you're lack of sleep and you're trying to think, okay, like how am I doing my how am I taking care of myself? But then you have to go to work, back to work right away, and then the pressures of kind of being at the same level where you were. I think that's something that I really appreciate about Finland.
It's a great point and something, if you don't have kids, I actually you have to actively think to remember. But yeah, I've heard that from a couple other people crazy enough to get kids. So, kudos to you for going through that journey.
Yeah, I think actually
Absolutely.
some of the game companies in Norway, when they do have a position and they want to broadcast the position to internationals as well as Norwegians, that's one of their biggest pitches, right? Is like we have a lot of vacation time, we have paid maternity leave, like it's like a year of 80% position or whatever, right? Compared to the US where you only get a few weeks, a month or something. I don't know
Yeah, it
exactly
depends
how
on
it
the
is.
company. Yeah.
It depends on the company, but like you get it, and you crunches. I mean, it happens, but it's something that they are actively not trying, or they're actively trying to not have. I mean, mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen because it does, but there's a lot of you go home at 4 o'clock. You can go and be with your family at 4 o'clock. So that's something that's very much promoted in Norway, at
Yeah.
least I've noticed.
And the like school and daycare and
Mhm.
all of that. And
Yeah.
the baby box. Did you get a
Yeah,
baby box?
baby box
Yeah.
are awesome.
Baby
Like,
box?
yeah, you
Yeah,
get a
I've
box
seen
for
those.
everything. Like it's when you're a parent, there's no manual, right? They just like, hey, here's a baby, and you're like. But then in Finland, they make this really nice box, and it has basically everything that you could possibly need as a new parent, and it for one, it just makes you feel like, oh, somebody cares about me and is looking out for me. Because I can imagine, like, if you're going through this experience for the first time, like it was for us, it was like, what do I do? There's so much uncertainty and so many unknowns. It was just really comforting. It was quite nice.
Yeah.
Sweden, you don't get a baby box, but you don't have to learn
Actually-
Finnish.
Oh,
So
that's a good
I
point.
looked it
That's
up
a
now.
good
We
point.
do get baby boxes, and we don't
Oh.
have to learn Finnish. Come to Sweden.
yeah,
Shit,
Wait, this
Theo,
is
we
a-
don't get baby boxes.
We
What
do
is
get
This
this?
is a competition. What happened?
I did get a baby box when
You
he
did?
was born. I
You
did.
did? Oh,
Yeah.
so there are baby boxes in Norway
There are
too?
baby boxes, yeah.
I
for
did
the-
not
Look at
know.
you guys
Okay.
copying us.
Okay, so like we get baby boxes too. You don't have to learn Finnish, and we have a lot of money, so
You
Norway's
don't have
better.
to learn Swedish either.
Oh shit.
We don't have to
Yeah.
learn Swedish either. That's
Yeah,
true.
like-
Hmm.
You know Norwegian, you understand Swedish as well, so you're good to go.
But if you go to
Um,
Norway, you have to learn like 2 languages, like 2 different Norwegians. So, like
No, you don't.
bokmål and whatever
Nemos,
else.
but you don't have to
Yeah.
learn them. No, because
No?
you learn one language, you can understand everything.
Mm.
I'm on Hell's side on this.
Yeah, that sounds like
I-
something
I-
someone
I
is
think
trying
this
to.
is just oil envy, you know?
Oh,
it is.
Oh, it's like, oh, you
Nothing
have 2 dialects. Oh.
there's nothing that Swedes love more though than making fun of a Danish accent. And the
to be fair.
second, the runner-up is a Norwegian accent.
Yeah, there's nothing Norway loves more than making fun of Sweden in general.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, but that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like Sweden in the middle, being the biggest, and let's be honest, being a bit of a bully historically
Oh.
speaking. You're gonna get some shit thrown at you, and for a good reason. With all love, Kim.
I feel it. I definitely feel it. It's always with love. I know that.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's continue on this rampage of bullying each other's countries. Let's talk about food and drinks because we
Oh.
do have a little questions about that. We'll start with your favorite food or well, your favorite food and or drink from the country that you're residing in. And I'll give you some time to think about
I
it.
like how
This is a
everybody's
hard
like-
one.
Mine's
Like, wait,
easy.
there's a
Like,
food that's good from my country?
yeah,
Shit.
salmon.
Food
Like,
and or
cold-
drink.
Definitely 100%
Really like-
salmon.
yeah,
I actually like
cold
Sill.
smoked salmon is so good.
Still is really good.
Still is pretty good. Yeah.
I like
I've
Sill.
never been, it's really good.
Sill?
We're all going fish. Like I love sill as well, and salmon. Okay, Norwegian salmon. All right,
like
it's
sill,
good.
yeah.
It's good. I'll give the Norwegians some cred on this. Norwegian
Oh, you
salmon
know-
is pretty good.
Go a little more, you have like gravlaks that most people don't like it. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
Love
this
it.
is the gravilohi, and yeah, that's when I came to Finland. I ate so much of that, I got sick.
Yeah.
It was like it was Easter or something like that. I came here and I was like, "What is this?"
I mean,
And
yeah,
I just and I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, my stomach!" And yeah, apparently you're not supposed to eat that.
I don't blame you. Like it's great. Like I think for me, like the entire like traditional board, literally smorgasbord, is my favorite food. I have a good B plan, but
Yeah.
in general,
I,
well,
I have to say, like, I find this funny that we were thought, like, oh, there's such a big difference between the countries, and then all of the guests are like, yeah,
Not
it's
really.
the same.
I mean, I do like a smorgastorta.
Oof, I was just gonna
Yes,
say that's my B
yes.
plan.
Yes, my wife
Good.
hates it. She's like, that's not a cake, that's an abomination. It's like, it's not okay. You don't know. Like, yeah, I'm so happy someone understands.
I always explain it to other Americans. I'm like, imagine a tuna sandwich as a cake.
Yep.
That's
Huh?
a good way of putting it.
That doesn't
This
appeal.
is the face.
I eat that in Norway. Is that like a
No,
Swedish and
A
Finnish thing?
tuna sandwich as a cake? No.
No, like sandwich
Like-
cake.
There's like fish in it. There's layers of fish,
Like
And
a meat
bread.
pie, kind of, but
Wheat?
tuna
No,
instead?
No, it's cold.
It's a cake.
Yeah.
It's like a
okay.
smorgasbord in
It
layers.
looks like a cake. And you cut it like a cake. It's
That
a
is
savory cake.
It's good.
weird.
The first time you see it, you're like, that's not right. But then you eat it, and you're like,
It's
Mhm.
just like
No,
mayo and shrimp and eggs and
okay.
like
Yeah.
Oh,
a little bit of lettuce.
that's the Swedish diet: mayo, eggs, and shrimp. And if you're fancy on a holiday, you put egg, mayo, shrimp, just like that.
There you go.
So I'm gonna go out there and say there's a dessert that I really like in Finland, and I think you're probably not gonna like this, but I like mämmi.
Oh,
And I'm
mummy is
gonna tell you
amazing.
why.
My wife, yeah. It looks disgusting. It's
Yes.
delicious.
Mämmi looks like poop, straight up. Like
There's no way you're getting around that. That's true.
This is like it looks like poop. But I have to say that mämmi by itself is not that tasty. But you put a whole bunch of cream and you can make this really nice shake, mämmi shake, which is amazing.
Okay, I've never tried it as a shake. Okay, okay.
I gotta try that because I hate meme. Which
Yeah.
kind of leads on to the second part of this question because we do have to round out before Collin has to run. The least favorite food or drink. Because meme is my least favorite food from Finland. Least favorite by a
Get
long
out.
It's
shot.
like the most, like I'm like I love this, and this guy's like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm Swedish. Like this is
Yeah, I
my
was gonna
thing.
say, of
Fair,
course,
fair,
of
fair,
course.
fair.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate Nippon sopa.
What?
Wait,
I
what?
know. It's a hot take in the Swedes. I hate Nippon sopa. It tastes like if someone chewed up grass and spit it out and then was like, "Do you want to drink this?" And I was like,
Is everyone familiar with what Nippon sopa is?
No.
Yes.
Okay, so Nippon is basically, I think it comes from like a relative of the rose bush.
it's like a
It's a little
rose
berry.
hip.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a little berry, and then you mash it up and make it into a little soup, and it's sweet, and kids eat it, and I always drink it when my stomach isn't feeling so
Yeah, I
well.
was gonna say like I'm okay. I'm pretty neutral, but I think that's because I had it as a kid. If I had it for the first time now, maybe not. Maybe not.
But
So, yeah.
I have like nostalgia for it, so I think that's
Yeah.
probably why I like it, because that's like a thing that you bring with kids if you go into the forest, because it's easy to bring with, and it's like easily digestible, a lot of energy. But I get it, like I get it. It's not like something that America would like, probably. Like it's a very
No.
specifically Swedish
Yeah.
thing.
There are definitely more radical things I could have chosen, but Nippon sopa is the one that always gets to look at a Swedes like, what? So
Yeah, I was distraught. I am disappointed and sad.
I have to ask. I don't know if it's common in the other Nordics, but like in Finland, we have like pretty generally like Thursday is pea soup day. Like that's when you eat pea soup. Is that a Nordic thing or Finnish thing?
We do
That's
that
a
in Sweden
Finnish-
as well, but I think that's something
okay.
that we implanted into Finland back in our bad days.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty sure.
I mean,
You-
maybe.
they took pea soup and they're like,
Because
this is what we want
it's
once a
literally
week.
like our most popular pea soup is called soldatens, which
Yeah,
means
'cause it
the
was- yeah.
soldiers.
In schools
like
and in the
soldier
military, every Thursday, pea soup, and then you get like pancake as a
Yep.
dessert. Like that's what you get, and then you throw like onion and stuff in the pea soup, and like it's
Onion in
good
the pea soup, I'm gonna be like, but there's
But-
definitely a lot of like
Yeah.
things you can do with it.
Here it's more like Taco Fridays, and those tacos. are
Oh,
not-
that's a
Oh.
tradition. Yeah.
classic
No,
Norwegian
yes.
tacos.
not a
Bringing
taco.
tacos. You know, totally,
yes.
totally Norwegian thing.
Yes,
Tacos.
Kelsey, I
Living
feel it. Like
California,
burrito,
you-
burrito's okay. Taco.
They don't get the right tacos here.
Mhm.
It's different
But-
tacos.
So do other Nordic countries, do you guys have the abomination that is pizza with curry and bananas? Is that a Swedish thing?
No, that's a
Swedish thing?
That's a Swedish thing.
That's disgusting.
We have pizza
Curry
with
and
like potatoes. So
Oh, that's good though. I've had
Sounds
potato
good.
pizza.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Fair enough. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had a problem in the 70s where we were cooking with bananas and curry and lots of different stuff, and like we have lots of old recipes from like early 80s, late 70s that are just like, why? Like we have this dish called Flying Jacob, which is like chicken, some kind of weird hot sauce, whipped cream, and peanuts and banana. Like it's just like someone had a bad day at work, didn't buy any groceries, and just put everything they had in their fridge in a pot, and now it's like a traditional dish. So like, of course we'll put that stuff on pizza.
Of course, that's
Like,
what you do.
what
Obviously,
else?
right?
Like
Sweden,
Swedish
you wonder
pizza.
why we make fun of you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm,
like-
Oh, I'm not surprised. I just like kind kind of act surprised and like kind of act bullied, even though I know, like, yeah, okay, we have problems, we have food problems.
I
What
know
about you,
I'm not
Collin?
like what. Sorry, yeah, Colin.
Is there a food that you really hate?
Yeah, I would say so. At these market squares, you can get these fried small fish, and I
Then this is so
these
good.
muy cool. These are so. I have a problem with eating small bones. Like it just I don't like the texture and things like that. So
It's like
not a
fries. You just
fan.
pop them in your
Not a
mouth.
fan.
So
So
good.
like anchovies, but like
Yeah,
street
they're
A
food.
little bit, a little bit. I'm surprised you guys don't have
they're
them.
like deep fried.
Oh.
So they're like deep fried in this big vat, and you see it together.
Well, they're not deep fried because they don't have like that deep fried.
Yeah,
flavor.
well,
They're just
they're
like in
fried.
oil on a pan and salt, and like
That's
it's
true,
very
yeah, yeah.
simple and
Heavily
And they're
fried.
breaded usually, aren't
Uh,
they? Can be breaded.
can be what?
Can be breaded.
Oh
so
yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah,
some
yeah,
breading
yeah.
in it.
But like you can
yeah.
also like really easily make it on a fire. Just put them in up between
Yeah.
middle, and it's
not
it's
deep
very
fried.
good. It's one of like that and a glass of beer. That's summer. Well, good
I
stuff.
feel like I gotta try this.
Yeah, for
This
sure.
is, but this is also like why we do these streams, because you learn so much about. Oh, now my mic's cutting out.
Yeah.
You learn so much about each other's cultures. Was what I was trying to say.
So nice.
Aw.
Oh.
But that's also why we brought you guys, because there is definitely like a clash between the other side of the pond and the Nordic countries. Like we are very different, but apparently we all also have a lot that we agree on, and we're like getting along. So I feel like we need to break that clash. Like we really need to learn more from each other, because the games industry is tiny. Like let's have each other's backs. Because I'm saying this because we're like running out of time, and I'm trying to finish on like a nice note.
Can I just? I just realized that this was like the cultural clash between and across the pond, and we talked about that for like 25-30 minutes, and then we were talking about the difference between Nordics for like over 30 minutes. Yep. Well done us. Well done us. It's really good.
But that's what it is. When you live, like you just gotta like talk about how is my life different from yours. And I feel like our lives aren't that different. I feel like we just kind of like hang out and do our best. And apparently some of us don't like Niponsoppa. Apparently some of us love Memi. I have disagreements with both of those, but that's okay. We can still get along on other things.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fair play. Can I know I'm not a guest, but can I drop like a Swedish dish that is absolutely disgusting?
Absolutely.
Jansson's
as the host. Okay.
Like
Good.
it's disgusting. Okay, so quick translation. In Finnish, it's called like kinkkukiusas, which is like either ham temptation, which sounds way too good.
Yes, I've heard that one.
But it can, if depending on how you translate, it can be also ham bullying, and I feel like it's more like that. It's a disgusting, creamy mush of like potatoes and ham, and it's. Oh.
Wait, ham?
You're not supposed to put ham in it. It's supposed to
ham.
be like sardines or like anchovies.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we have like a shitty version of your food.
Yeah, that does not sound like a temptation at all.
No.
It's supposed to be just like an umami bomb with cream and potatoes.
That sounds a lot better. Yeah.
It is.
Good.
It's great.
Okay,
Thank you, Kelsey.
we're actually going to go and visit Kim in Sweden because he's in the middle and it's easier for everyone. So you lucky bastard, you. But maybe we'll try it there then.
We'll see. I could try.
Because
it's not Christmas. It's like a traditional Christmas food.
Okay.
However, I could ask my mom.
That's okay, Kim.
She doesn't have to be
bother your mom with this.
Oh no! Like I can ask
Kim's
her for.
No, it's okay.
I can ask her for her recipe, and then I can cook it at her place.
Collin says we should do it. Kelsey, Theo, I feel like they're agreeing. We should try it.
We each have a strict timeline when it comes to things. You can't eat that at the wrong season, just like you can't have semla at the wrong time of year. There's rules.
Sorry, Kim, we can't have it. I'm sorry. We're visiting you in the summer. It just won't work.
We have like a Christmas party in the summer. Why not?
Oh, like Christmas in July.
Oh, hey, by the way, can I ask you, like, Americans, a question? My wife is very adamant about this, but like, there's certain things that are brekkie food, and you can't have just anything at brekkie. You gotta have like it's cereal or toast or porridge, or I guess that's about it. And you, because I've often like whatever you find is brekkie, but like she's adamant, like no, she will not eat that stuff. How about you guys?
I have no limits.
I like you, Theo.
That's right, Theo.
Exactly.
I think that my greatest sadness is that Swedes don't eat hot breakfast very much. They don't really like hot.
We'll have a fried egg once in a while.
For fancy. Most
For
of the time, it's like,
fancy.
would you like a cold sandwich?
Yes.
Yeah.
On a Saturday, we'll make scones. 4 of them.
My go-to is always it's a mixture. So we have porridge. I usually have porridge, and then I put in peanut butter and bananas. That's like
That sounds
so
good.
good. It's like so good. Like
think-
there's nothing better than that.
I do think that American breakfast culture is probably the greatest thing we have.
Yeah.
American like breakfast diners, like we get that right. Not a lot we get right, but we get breakfast right. So the rest of the world.
Oh yes.
What is a classic American I'm thinking like pancakes and syrup.
Scrambled
eggs,
omelet,
bacon.
sausage.
Mhm.
I mean, I made it a point to go to Denny's when I was in America,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I've learned afterwards isn't that good in comparison to like if you get a home cooked meal. But like, I wanted to experience like a really shitty diner that just serves breakfast food all day long, and I was
IHOP.
happy.
IHOP.
Yeah.
Why have you not
IHOP
gone
is
to
good too.
IHOP?
No, I went to IHOP too. But IHOP and Denny's to me isn't the same thing. I don't know why. IHOP just feels like you have to have pancakes. When I was at Denny's, I had waffles as well and like omelet. And, like, I had too much food for a guy that is as skinny as me. I couldn't eat it all, and we were there for 6 hours.
That's the American
You know.
experience, you know.
It is,
I
it
Is
is.
it? Yeah, sure.
Also, I don't think the diners. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, thinking on that line of thought, like one thing that I'd say there is not either there or here, it would be the amount of fruits we get back home. Because that's the big thing as well.
Yeah, we're not good on fruit.
You always have a big basket of all kinds of fruit, and you can just pick and choose on top of. Because breakfast is always in Brazil. People live by the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so that's where people eat the most. And take your time because there's always a lot, and so so there's always all of everything. So
That sounds
at
nice.
your continental breakfast in a hotel, that's how it usually is back in Brazil.
Like
That's nice, though.
I've never purchased a ripe avocado in this country in nearly 5
You
years.
gotta wait it for 2.
And you like it's like raw. It's like undercooked, whatever.
If you don't cook your avocado, it's not Swedish. You know, like.
Yeah, no.
But that's also like not a fruit that grows here or like a vegetable that grows here. So it's like why you don't go to Sweden for avocados. You go here for maybe apples and potatoes.
Yeah, but like when you're stuck in Sweden,
hard
you
things.
avocado, okay, you know, it's same with mangoes. They're never ripe. They're never good here.
Never.
It's
Well,
just-
I like how you say when you're stuck in Sweden for the people who decided to live there. You know, they're
Exactly,
stuck
yeah.
there.
I'm like, I'm sorry you're stuck, but like, you know, you make do. You know, like I respect you, Kelsey, for surviving for so long
Thank
and
you.
still having a smile on your face. You know.
We
Like
also
the
do
Nemo
have a
sofa.
point. Yeah, we do have a point though to go to different countries and experience the fruits as they are in the country where they're from. Like if I want a really good mango, I'll go where they grow mangoes. If I want a really good avocado, I'll go to friggin' Mexico or something. Like I'll experience it where it grows.
To be
But
fair,
here-
that's like a good like, you know, you have to experience the shitty fruits in the Nordics because then when you get the real deal, you'll actually appreciate it. Okay.
No,
We
what I've
do have good
heard,
apples.
I think
Education for the food.
I've heard that like Swedes when they're at home in Sweden, so calm, reserved, chill. Swedes when they go on vacation though, unhinged, loud, wild in the
same with
street,
Norwegians.
eating
They're the
fruits.
Brits of the Nordics when they're vacationing. So yeah.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Jantelagen is not a thing for Swedes when we're abroad. Like even going to Denmark even going on the boat to Finland, Jantelagen is not a thing. When we're still in our waters, Jantelagen just disappears.
That's
Which I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Also, like when you go in the sea, civilization ceases to exist, and everyone turns into animals. That's the cruises. That's how I've seen the cruises. I like Kelsey is shaking, like shrugging. Have you been on a cruise? Collin, have you been on a cruise to Sweden, between Sweden and Finland?
I mean, they're called like booze cruises entirely.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. Not just because of the alcohol, but just because like the vibe is so different from what you get from like everyday life in the Nordics.
Bubbly.
It's a completely own thing.
So have you been on one? Oh, Collin has. Was it good?
Yeah. I mean, I've been, I studied here as a student as a student. I was here, and yeah,
Oh, the student cruises.
it's part of the, I guess, the life here, and you go on those, and I do remember a few instances where, yeah, going on the dance floor and being, having a good time. Let's just say that.
Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Some people do it just to like buy the alcohol because like, do you guys have Systembolaget?
Yeah, we have alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. So
How's it in
free for all
Norway?
folks.
Yeah.
The same.
It's the same in Norway.
Yeah.
We have our, or sorry, Theo.
No, I was gonna say the wine monopoly is the same thing, but that's another clash I'd say from the US here, and even more the fact that just the fact that you can't drink outside is already weird. It still is. It's like you can't cross the door with a bottle of beer. That's still like, oh, that's just weird.
In the US or here?
Here.
Wait, what?
Wait, I'm always drinking outside.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but you're not allowed
You can't
to.
drink outside in Norway. What?
Wait, what?
Oh, you have to have a what is it? A paper bag?
We don't
Or
do that in
God, you
Sweden. though.
guys!
That's very
No.
American.
Christ!
No.
I was here to make
What
fun of
happened?
Sweden, but you guys like
no,
painted
like
a big ass target on
if
you.
you're in a restaurant or something and they have outside seating, that's fine. Like
Yeah,
you can
sure.
drink whatever
No,
alcohol.
but,
But
like,
if you're walking
parks.
around, well, you're technically supposed to have a cover. But if it's like in the summer and everyone's having a picnic, nobody does it, and like the cops don't stop you. But if you're going around in the middle of the day near kids and stuff, then it's a problem. Then you have to have some kind of cover
And you
over
call
your alcohol.
yourself a civilized country? I don't.
This
I don't know.
conversation
Oh, are
is
we
going
starting
so
now,
well.
Hal? Are we really starting about civilization
We're
now in
starting an
Finland?
argument where
Really?
we're 15 minutes
it's like-
past the deadline.
And of course, it's about alcohol of all things.
I think this is a good point to wrap up.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
it's a good point.
Yes, very true, very true. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Collin, Kelsey, Theo. It was really, really lovely having you guys here. I actually wish we had a bit more time, but that's always the case. And it's better to cut the party short, like when you have a good time, and not like drag it too far. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your insights and good stuff. I would like to quickly throw, if you want to mention any of your, if you want to throw out like if people want to follow you, Twitter, anything, Collin.
Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. Collin
Okay.
Foss.
Collin with 2 L's.
2 L's, yeah, I remember that.
And Foss with 2 S's. Double man, yes. Kelsey?
Don't follow me.
Leave me alone.
Very Nordic of you.
Very
Nice.
Nordic.
Kidding.
You're
I don't really have any, so
That's fair.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to give this opportunity if you have. Theo?
You can just find my name.com, nogueira.com, and you can find all my socials there. And my handles are all different all over the place. So probably the easiest way to find me. I'm everywhere.
Cool. Also, a big thank you to our producer, Viv, who's been making all this kind of happen. Thank you,
Thanks,
Viv.
Viv.
Yep.
We love you.
you.
Also, thank you. It pains me a little bit, but thank you, Sweden. Thank you, Norway. It's been a lovely evening.
We don't get our names mentioned. We get our countries mentioned. That's how much
all
hell
you are
loves
to
us.
me. No, Kim, Sylvia, I love you guys.
Yeah, we love you too.
Love you
You're good
too.
people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have
Okay.
a great night, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Plum, plum, plum. I think
And
we're
we're
offline.
still here, but we don't know if we're offline, so we're gonna keep it kosher until we know. Is Viv still here? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but like it was a good run today. It was very good guests, and it was nice that Collin could sit a little bit longer. Thank you, Collin, if you're still listening. That was really good. It was a good little trashing there between the countries.
Yeah. I think it's the first time we actually started trashing each other's countries,
And
at least live.
yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true. Yeah, we've done
That's
that.
a good time.
All of our like planning meetings are like we start. Okay, we need this question, and then someone says something like, "Sweden, what?" And then gloves are off, and we're out.
Viv, are we still live?
It
Yeah,
looks
it
like
looks like
we're
we are
live.
still
Yeah, I
live.
think we're live. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank
Oh,
you,
oh,
everybody. I think we're done.
We're
Okay,
done.
catch you guys later.
Cool, bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
bye bye.